Primarily here because you're interested in games development, studying games development at a university, and hopefully that university will be UTS. So the primary degree that we offer is the Bachelor of Science in Games Development, and that is hosted by the Faculty of Engineering and IT at UTS. It is one of the leading games degrees within Australia. As we'll come to see a little bit later on, we have a fairly high entry requirement and we expect a lot from our students, but we get some amazing results out of it. So kicking right into it, let's see, there we go. So in this session, we're going to talk a bit about what is games development, what you're kind of getting into as if you're considering this as a career, what the degree looks like at UTS, and then we'll just get into how you might want to prepare, especially for those of you that are in year 10. It seems like there's quite a few of you. You still have some space to kind of play around and explore your interest within games and build up your skills before you come to UTS. So what is games development? So we might just start off by making a distinction. So at UTS, we don't teach game art. So we're not talking about the 3D models of a game. We're not talking about the animations and the 2D assets and stuff like that. There are subjects that you can take to do that. And UTS also has some fantastic animation degrees with some of the other faculties, if you're curious to be really specialized as an animator. But primarily at the Faculty of Engineering and IT, we're teaching you to be fantastic programmers. And games development requires amazing programmers and software engineers. So we're teaching you transferable skills in problem solving, teamwork, and project management. These are all the kinds of skills that you would get in a computer science degree or in a Bachelor of IT. And you learn those programming skills that you can apply across the IT industry. So if you come out of the games degree and realize maybe games isn't primarily for you, you're still capable of being employed across the entire IT industry within Australia. And we take pride in that. Our students do some of the highest number of programming subjects out of any degree at UTS, so they come out as great software engineers. But it also requires a level of creativity. So a lot of our students take interaction design subjects, and these subjects are designed to get you to think about how a user will interact with your software. So this may be a player of your game, but it also might be for other software systems. If you're making a business software system, how is a user going to interact with that business software system? So yeah, you have to have that kind of high creativity as well as the high technical programming skills. And that's a hard balance to get, and those are two difficult skills to master. So if you can master both of them by the end of your degree, you're going to be someone who's in a very good position moving forward in your career. So there are a lot of different career options that are open to as you come out of the degree. So of course, there's this straight up games developer. We have a lot of contacts with local industry, local game studios, both indie studios, so small ones that are just between 5 and 10 people starting up their own company and launching some small games, as well as some of the bigger studios located here in Sydney and around Australia. Computer graphics specialists, you will learn how to do computer graphics programming at a lower level. And this is something that's very challenging, but it's also very sought after in the industry in games development, as well as things like simulation and engineering and so forth. Interaction designer, as I mentioned before, game software entrepreneur. So we encourage a lot of our students to, especially our top students, to consider starting up their own company. And we kind of, in your last year's subjects, you'll start to get a sense of what it would be like to run your own company and go through a full design and development process. And then, yeah, we've had some students who have taken their final year projects and they're now developing those further, trying to release that game and start up their own company. And we've had a few students in the past do the same. There's also things like cybersecurity specialist, data analyst, computer science researcher. So as part of your degree, as you'll see in a moment, you do get to choose a sub-major and take a few other electives. And depending on what electives you choose and what sub-major you choose, you can find yourself in a lot of various different careers. So we've had some of our students become just 2 years out of their degree. They're already senior cybersecurity analysts at Deloitte. They're data analysts working for banks. They're front-end web developers working for big software companies. So yeah, we try to allow you to broaden your horizons and have as many possibilities coming out of the degree as possible. At the same time, all those skills that you learn can be applied to games development. So games development is a very complex thing. So even if you're taking a sub-major in cybersecurity, being a specialist or an analyst in cybersecurity, the games industry needs those skills that you need to be able to protect your multiplayer servers and your big databases and stuff like that. So yeah, being a data analyst, you need to be able to analyze data and understand what your players are doing with your game, what they're liking and what they're not. And yeah, so all those skills that you learn from your electives can be pulled into not only your subjects, your core game subjects within this degree, but also expanding your careers coming out of it. We also have at the bottom there, Serious Games Research Assistant. So as Jamie was mentioning earlier, at the Game Studio Research Group and some of the other research groups around the faculty, we do a lot of serious games research and research into things like artificial intelligence in games. And anytime that we have a funded project, we draw directly from our students. So we try to give as many jobs out to our high performing students as possible and get them to make something that is going to be beneficial either to a community or to a client, as well as giving those students a chance to build up their skills and to improve their CV for their jobs in the future. So within the actual Bachelor of Science in Games Development, you'll be building on a foundation of IT. So your first year subjects are very similar to the subjects taken by the Bachelor of Science in IT. So you'll do a lot of those foundational programming subjects, but you'll also have a chance to kind of specialize, get a taster for some of the kind of games development, interaction design. And as you move through to your final years, you become more and more specialized into those games development streams, taking on more advanced subjects that really push your knowledge of how to make games from a design perspective, a user design perspective, but also a programming perspective. So you start to learn in your second year and your third year about graphics and animation, programming specifically for games. And yeah, all of this is done with state-of-the-art technology, all the game engines that are currently being used by the industry. So we teach the Unity engine, we teach the Unreal engine, we teach a whole bunch of tools that allow you to integrate with that, as well as the programming languages needed to work within those environments. Build your niche, like I said, you choose your electives. A lot of our students come out with varying skills, and that's awesome because by the time they reach their third year and they're doing their capstone subjects with Jamie gets groups to form up based upon their skills. And so you have a group of very diverse people bringing lots of different skills from their various electives and making something that's very impressive. And yeah, you're working on games projects. So even from your first year, while other students within the faculty may be making simple programming applications, you're making a full game within your first year, or a prototype of a game, I should say. And then that continues on to your second year. And by your third year, you're making some pretty impressive stuff that you'll be proud to show off to future employers, your friends, your family, and so forth. So this is a rough overview of what the degree looks like. So like I said, in your first year, in the red, those are your core IT subjects, and you do a few more as the years go on, and those are the same subjects done by a lot of the IT students at UTS. Then you have this kind of block of core games development subjects, and most of those are kind of introductory ones, and they kind of build up over the years to be more advanced. You have your sub-majors and your electives, and then right in the bottom right-hand corner, you have your game studio subject. Those are your capstone subjects. There's two of them, one in your first semester, one in your second semester, and those are your chances to really show off what you've learned across your entire degree. So like I've said plenty of times, make sure that you look into what sub-majors are offered at UTS, and especially with the Bachelor of Science in Games Development. There's a lot of different possibilities to learn from, and every single one of them is going to help you on your journey to be a games developer. So whether you're taking ones in innovation and business, thinking about starting your own company, seeing how to market a product that you would come up with, or whether you really want to get more specialized, become a games researcher like myself and Jamie are, or understand various parts of IT like network security and data analytics and so forth. So there's a few ways that you can extend upon your studies and really add to the degree as it is in its core representation. So you can do internships. There's no internships built into the Bachelor of Science in Games Development as is, but there is a diploma that you can add onto the degree, and it can be done at the same time, so you don't end up with any extra years if you wish to really push through it and have an internship and get started on your career. Now, those internships aren't guaranteed to be within the games industry. Unfortunately, the games industry is a little bit smaller in Sydney, and there's not enough super large companies that can afford to host interns like that. But you will get experience in some form or another in the IT industry. And again, any form of IT experience out in the wild is going to help you, and it's going to look great on your resume. You can also do entrepreneurship, so you can add a diploma of innovation, and that's really going to focus in on those innovation skills. If you are someone who's considering starting your own business, you really want to be your own boss, you want to make your own games, have your own designs come to life, then adding that diploma is really going to help you specialize in those skills and know what you need to do to get a product to market. Research, if you want to be someone like myself in the future, you want to have that doctorate title, you want to work for a university and get to research any topic that you want, especially to do with games, you can add on the Bachelor of Science and Honours in Information Technology. So this is a general IT honours extension year, so it adds 1 year to your degree, but you get this really solid foundation in research and how to do research in an academic and a very thorough way. And if it's something you enjoy, there's a lot of leeway to jump straight from an honours straight into a PhD. So that's what I did in my progression. I did a Bachelor of Computer Science at another university in Australia. I had the chance to do an honours. I was doing quite well, and I thought, okay, I'll take on this challenge. I did an honours year, realised that I really liked it, and applied for a PhD and went on to do that. And that's where kind of my specialisation in games started. And then, yeah, that's how I ended up here talking to you tonight in the job that I am. And being able to teach the next generation of game developers. If you want to extend upon your development skills, Andrew mentioned earlier the UTS Animal Logic Academy, which we have a slide on. So the UTS Animal Logic Academy is a partnership between Animal Logic. So Animal Logic is one of the most powerful and prominent animation studios in the world, working on a lot of Hollywood projects, and they're located in Australia. And so they have partnered with UTS to essentially set up a core working space where master's students, so the Masters of Animation Visualization, can work pretty much 9 to 5, 5 days a week to produce animations while learning those skills. So this is a really unique degree within Australia. It's not like your standard university degrees where you have a few subjects here and there and you study in your own time. This is run like a 2-year internship, essentially. So you're there every day of the week, every working day of the week, creating amazing stuff with your colleagues, being taught by Animal Logic professionals, so people who have been in the industry for a long time. And yeah, some of the projects, if you go to the UTS Animal Logic Academy website, you can see some of the projects that they've worked on in the past, and there's some fantastic stuff there and very high quality works. So yeah, if you're really looking to add onto those development skills for games, consider doing this degree. It's not necessarily animation. The organizers of this degree, Andrew included, will tell you that the Animal Logic Academy is always looking for more programmers, people who know how to work within Unity and Unreal and other software from the back end and code them up to allow animators to do their jobs a lot better. So whether you want to learn new skills in animation and try and have a balance of that programming side and that animation side, or whether you want to just take your programming skills and apply it to a slightly different industry while getting a lot more experience, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. So what do the students enjoy out of this degree? So we have a fairly small cohort of students. It's a tough degree to get into, but any student that does get into it is usually very passionate about the degree. So yeah, you get to know fairly early on people that are in your degree, and you work with them throughout the years that you're here. So you build some very strong friendships and some very strong relationships in how you work and collaborations. So on top of that, you get to learn IT while starting a new passion. So if you're like me and you really love games, then there's no better way to learn how to program than to program a game and to make something interactive that then you can give to your friends and family and have a laugh about and have fun with and so forth. Diverse subjects, skills, and future careers. As I've gone over just previously, there's a lot of different options in what you study and where you go after the degree, and our students really spread out after they graduate and find some rewarding careers throughout the industry. The challenge of an accelerated IT degree, it is a very challenging degree. We really put you to the test. We expect a lot from you, even from your first year. Don't be scared by that. We do support you. It's just that, yeah, you'll get an opportunity to learn things really quickly and really get hit the ground moving. So when we have events and show off the work, everyone else in the university is always amazed by the work that our game students are doing, because they've been pushing themselves to the limit since their first year. And so by their final year, they're capable of doing amazing things. Creative freedom and high level of problem solving. So a lot of your projects that you work on, we give you the opportunity to come up with your own designs with your group and make them come to life. So we're not forcing you to make a specific system or a system that you're just not interested in. We're saying to you, make a game that is entertaining, and it has to meet maybe some kind of design constraints, but overall it's your idea and you're bringing your idea to life. And there's something very rewarding about doing that. Group work with like-minded students, like I said, you get to work with those other students within the degree that are just as passionate as you are, and they want to do just as good of a job as you're doing. And showcase events and industry interaction. So every year well, almost every semester actually, we host showcase events. So we're actually coming up to another one pretty soon. It's going to have to be run online rather than in person, but it's called the Autumn Games Showcase. And it's where we take our second year and our third year games students and we show off the work that they're doing. And these are just some of the games that have been made and shown off in those showcases. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can kind of see the crowds that we generate. So last year, I believe we had about 250 people come through the door over a space of 2 to 3 hours and play everyone's games. A lot of those were industry contacts. So we put a shout out to all the local companies that we know about and they bring their staff and so forth. And so, yeah, you get a lot of feedback from people that are in the industry. We've had students get internships out of these showcase events. We've had people get jobs even, and just build those general networks that they then draw upon once they're outside. But yeah, just looking at the slide, it brings back very good memories for me. There's so many good games here, ones that I actually feel like going away and playing and taking a look at. If you are interested in any of them, if you just search on Google UTS Games Studio, you'll find our Game Studio website, and you can take a look at some of the work that is done by our students over the last few years. And there's a mix there. There's some that are research projects, there's some that are second year projects, and there's some that are third year projects. So you can see the broad spectrum of what we're kind of working on within the degree. All right, I'm going to hand over to Josh. So just as another reintroduction of Josh, he is a second year student. I got to know him in his first year when he was working in the Introduction to Games Development subject. And immediately I noticed that he really has a knack for this and a passion for it, and he was pushing himself. So he is one of our bright up and coming students. And I look forward to seeing what he does in the next year and a half of his studies. But I'll hand over to you for the moment, Josh.
Thank you, Dr. Raff. Hi, everyone. As Dr. Raff mentioned, I am a second year student completing my Bachelor of Science in Games Development. I chose this degree for many reasons, but simply I chose it because I love games, both making and playing them. It's a really fun degree and it's really rewarding, but it's challenging and a lot of hard work. It allows me to use my maths and problem solving skills, but it lets me express my creative side as well, which I really enjoy. And it's really satisfying being able to take an idea you have and transform it into a playable game that you can share with your friends. One of the main things I wanted to know that Dr. Raff's already touched on are the career opportunities you get after you graduate. Graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Games Development doesn't mean you have to be a games developer. There are many paths you can take, such as software developer or a web developer. The degree has many electives and it lets you tailor the degree to suit you. At UTS, they teach a degree assuming you know nothing about coding, which means you don't have to be a coding genius to be a part of this degree. However, any extra experience you have with software development is only going to benefit you. And real quickly, in terms of HSC subjects, while it's not a prerequisite, I highly advise taking software design and development. A lot of the content you learn in there reappears in this degree, so it's really beneficial to have that. In the first year, you learn a lot of the basic IT skills, and in the second and third year is when you get really into the game subjects, and that's when the degree gets really exciting. All the staff and faculty that are part of the UTS degree are amazing and so knowledgeable. They're all passionate about what they do, and that's what makes learning from them all the more enjoyable. While there are no set internships, there are plenty of other opportunities for you to develop your skills, but it's up to you if you want to pursue them. I just recently started an internship at Axon Play that arose from an opportunity that Dr. Raff notified me of. Since the Bachelor of Science in Games Development is one of the smaller degrees, you get to know everyone in your degree really well. It's incredibly fun being able to work with a group of like-minded people. And not just the people in the same year as you, but those in other years as well. I personally know lots of students in their third years and those who have graduated. Everyone is super supportive of each other, and you get to help each other out to make better products. So don't be afraid to talk to people in different years to you, as you're guaranteed to learn something new. I'm almost halfway through my degree and I've enjoyed every moment of it so far. And I can't wait to see what my remaining time at UTS has in store for me. Hopefully you found that useful. And if you have any other questions for me about the UTS experience from the perspective of a student, just let me know.
As Josh mentioned before, we actually don't have any requirements for our degrees at UTS. So at least within the Faculty of Engineering and IT. So there's no subjects that you have to take in order to get into this degree. However, there are some that may be beneficial to you. And as that poll showed a moment ago, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of prepare yourself just on the side, just for the games degree. And it's really a matter of what you want to bring to the degree by yourself. So we have some students that come to us that already have all animation skills. So it's a good thing that we're not teaching that in the degree. They don't need that, but they're trying to add to it with their programming skills that they're going to learn within the degree. And if you don't have programming experience, don't worry about it. We don't assume that you have any of that experience. In your first semester at UTS, you'll do your foundational programming subject, and that will introduce you to the Java programming language from scratch at the lowest level, and you'll really be able to pick up speed quickly after that. In terms of what subjects to study, we do recommend mathematics and English. So that might be an interesting combination by the sounds of it, but the mathematics side of it, some people swear that you don't need mathematics for programming, and you don't. You can get through games development without it, but it will always help. With games development, you're always working in 3D coordinate space or 2D coordinate space sometimes, and you need to know how to move objects through there. So knowing your kind of geometry and your trigonometry and all that kind of stuff can really help out. And then on the English side, because we do a lot of interaction design, we get our students to write a lot of reports, a lot of documentation about how the game should be played and how their playtest went and how people interacted with it. And that helps with kind of your creative reflection on what you've been working on. So having good English writing skills and good mathematics can lead to some really good designs that you're then able to pull off in your development. And yeah, like I said, you don't need to be doing the programming subjects as part of your HSC or whatever program you're studying, but if you do have the opportunity to do them, they can't hurt. You may even end up touching a games engine like Unity within one of those subjects. So you'll get that already refresher experience and you'll hit the ground running within the degree. The adjustment points. So UTS does offer adjustment points for your ATAR, and these are ways to kind of increase your ATAR so that you can get through that that hurdle to get within this degree. And yeah, they're capped at 13. Some of these ATAR points will come from, or these adjustment points will come from doing relevant subjects within your HSC. So if you go to the UTS website for this subject and just in general, we can find out which subjects will add to those adjustment points. And it's generally, for this degree, it's generally those mathematics ones, some physics ones, programming, and English and so forth. And there's quite a wide array of them for you to choose from. But you can also get other ones, other adjustment points through special circumstances, and by completing our UTS Engineering and IT questionnaire, just to kind of show where your skills are currently at. We also have adjustment points for gender, and this is because we are trying, as an industry as a whole, we are trying to increase the number of female workers within the industry, and therefore a number of female students within the university. And this is no more prevalent than it is within games. So games in general as a market is, despite the stereotype of being an all boys club, it's absolutely not. A lot of market research over the last decade has shown consistently every year that half of the market is actually female. So, but the problem is we don't have half of the workforce within games development being female. And that's a problem. We need those diverse perspectives of gender and culture and so forth to build up games, because when you have those diverse teams, you end up with those really compelling products and those really compelling designs that appeal to a very large market. And then you have the most number of players, most number of customers, and so forth. So yeah, those points do exist. And you can find more information in the URL listed at the bottom. There are bridging courses. If you need to get your mathematics skills up to speed, especially, there are some bridging courses that UTS offers that can help you kind of improve before you start your degree. And there's also other systems such as UPass, which is a peer-assisted study situation. So you can learn from other people who have recently completed their degree or currently just a few years ahead of you. And there's also a whole bunch of other student services. So we don't like to just throw our students in the deep end and say, good luck. We want to make sure that you're doing well. We want to make sure that you're progressing through your degree. And especially, like I said, the games development degree is a very small cohort. I'm always here to my students. If they need something, if they need help, if they're having trouble progressing through their subjects, I want to know about it. And anything we can do to help out, we'll find a way to improve your studies. Okay. I believe here I'll hand back over to our MC and she'll continue to direct your questions. It was lovely talking to you all. And if you have any questions for me or Jamie, Andrew, or Josh, please let us know.
Thank you so much, William. That was fantastic. Hopefully that's given everyone a much better insight into what the games development course is like at UTS and where it might take you in the future. Of course, if you have any further questions or would like to do a bit more of a deep dive into this particular course or others, these are some great ways to get in touch with us through our Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, you can email us and check out our website. So please do look us up and have a look for some more information. There is a lot out there.